it's Jennifer from Belladonna's Botanicals, and Moon might be joining me shortly, or not. But I don't know who needs to hear this, but it is okay to do things your own way when it comes to magic, witchcraft, doing spells, rituals, creating witchy tools and products and whatnot. It's okay to deviate from tradition. It's okay to deviate from, this is the way it's always been done. It's okay to deviate from, well, in order to do this, I need X, Y, and Z herbs, X, Y, and Z essential oils, and these 3 crystals. It's okay to make substitutions. It's okay to do your magic how it works for you. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm pretty sure any spirit that you're working with isn't going to be irritated that, or not work with you because you used, I'm going to use a personal example here. I discovered that I'm allergic to mullein leaves and flowers. Mullein is a correspondence for a lot of things, not only in offerings and correspondences to deities, but, in just various magical practices. Like, hold on, let me pull up my magical sheet. I have a magical sheet of things. It's actually a very long Google document, but let me tell you what mullein is good for. Mullein. So the magical uses of mullein, I'm not going into any therapeutic ones here, in which you would see a more traditional herbalism workings, but mullein is said to bring good luck into a relationship. So if your relationship related spell or oil doesn't have mullein in it, does that mean it's going to fail? Probably not. There are things you can substitute it with. Mullein brings peace and prosperity into a marriage. Again, if mullein is not in that, doesn't mean that that is not going to manifest. It's one component, and a lot of these things are interchangeable. Let's see what else I can tell you about mullein. It's an ancient form of protection against black magic, curses, and other negative energy, which is funny because it's used a lot in sort of the black magic spectrum. It also helps keep away demons and instill courage. But the funny thing about it is mullein is actually a correspondence for a great many of the demonic divine. And if you want to know more about that, I suggest picking up S. Conley's work Cunning for Demonolatry. Demonolatry. I just realized I've been pronouncing demonolatry as olatry, but it's really latry. Demonolatry. So yes, this is the one book I keep on my desk at all times. But like when I first designed the products for the Ave Satanas for Satan, mullein was one of the correspondences for it. So you can see here where depending on the source, you sometimes get conflicting information. So am I pissing off Satan by giving him mullein, or is he like, yay, mullein, or doesn't really care? So anyways, it's also protection from nightmares and sorcery, but it's used in sorcery. It's good for cursing and breaking curses. That's very common with a lot of the baneful herbs, is that like something like rue. Rue is very protective when you use it for yourself. If you use it against someone, that's something that's used very prominently, like in cursing type products and stuff. So anyways, you can place it beneath a pillow and you'll use it in a dream pillow. It'll be a very itchy dream pillow for me. To guard against nightmares. Carry it to instill courage and help attract love from whomever, says the opposite sex. Some of these came from multiple sources, so, and I did not, this is my own personal use document, so I probably did not cite the sources on here. Let's see, where did I leave off? Where to keep wild animals at bay in unfamiliar areas. Wear mullein when you go camping, as long as you're not allergic to it. Burn to banish bad influences and bring an immediate habit immediate halt to bad habits. It's also good in banishings. It's used widely in Samhain rituals and ceremonies for the dead and necromancy. It's used to cleanse dead bodies and prepare it in some traditions. Let's see. It's associated with Mercury and the element of air. So there are other herbs you can use in place of mullein. I just want to use this as an example because I realized what was happening every time I made something with mullein, especially if it was in an incense blend and I had to run it through my industrial grinder. Two things would happen. Mullein has very prickly kind of, you can't see it when you look at it because it looks like soft, it looks like it feels and looks soft. So you wouldn't necessarily think that, but when you inhale the particulate from it, what would happen is it would irritate the back of my throat. And then I would just end up in coughing jags for, depending on how much I inhaled, the rest of the day, a couple days, maybe longer. And also my skin would get, I wouldn't get like hives, but my skin would get bright red on my chest and my arms and really itchy. That would last maybe a couple hours, but it's like itchy just thinking about it. But for me, I had to make the conscious decision to not torture myself and give myself allergic reactions and use a substitution for mullein in the products that I used it in. So are those products now ineffectual or subpar? No, it's okay that they're different. And I want to point out here when we talk about, I'm going to pull one thing from here. Let's see, what word can I focus on here in mullein? So it mentions Samhain. Let's see. I'm just doing a search on my document. Here are some of the other herbs that you can use for Samhain. Rosemary, rue, any type of sage, wormwood, yarrow, apples, belladonna, calendula, cedarwood, chrysanthemum, cinnamon, cypress, dittany of Crete, hemlock or water hemlock. Those are both very poisonous and toxic. So, mugwort and mullein, back to the beginning. So any number, and that is probably that's just what I put on here. I don't, I'm sure if I looked at every herbal book I have, looked at every, did some Googling and stuff like that, there's probably dozens, if not hundreds of herbs associated at some point in time with Samhain or Halloween or anything in that. By taking mullein out, it doesn't really affect it. And if you're so focused on that one thing being the part and parcel of your magic, you're probably, honestly, I'm just to put it this way, we're our own worst enemies most of the time when it comes to our magic failing. And if you're focused on, oh my God, this doesn't have mullein in it, and this recipe from this book calls for having mullein in this, and this doesn't have mullein, well, you're now focused on the completely wrong thing when it comes to your magic. And again, it's okay to make substitutions for things. It's okay to modify practices. And as I talked about recently in videos, I would say the vast majority, when it comes to the rituals from the Ars Goetia, a lot of the stuff from Aleister Crowley, of summoning demons and binding them and banishing them and all that. No, I think that's just a rude practice. But that's me. If you want to work with them that way and that works for you, that's up to you. I just don't find that method to be of interest in me. It's like, would I invite a friend over by force and then, bind them to my house and not let them leave? That sounds a little criminal and abusive. But, You can change the spell. You can change the ritual. You can change the formulation. Do what works for you. Books are there to guide you. Your traditions are there to guide you, whether, you know, they come from family traditions, whether they come from a particular pantheon or type of practice. So your traditions of demonolatry are going to be different than your traditions of Wicca, you know, or your traditions of Appalachian folk magic. And it's not to say any one of these things are vastly superior to the others. It's just different ways of working with magic and energy, you know, to do whatever it is you're trying to do. So it's okay to break from tradition. It's okay to make substitutes. It's okay to do these things. And I see people all the time get stuck on things. Well, and I get questions, and I can tell from some of them that from some of the questions I get, and over the course of the 5 or 6 years I've been doing this now, of there is a point when you are just starting and you want to do everything correct and right and stuff like that. But eventually we evolve from that. So when it comes to correspondences for things, so if you're making a wealth oil, there's dozens of herbs you can use for that. Let's see. I've got 95 references on my document to money. Some of that might be within the same. Let's see. Abundance, prosperity. Sometimes it's a matter of what word I use. Prosperity is about 65. So there are a whole host of things you can work with interchangeably. You might not have access to work with a really expensive herb that's associated with a particular thing. Maybe you're not comfortable working with belladonna since it's so toxic and it's also not widely available. It's okay to substitute something else for that. Maybe you're not comfortable using white sage. Perfectly okay to use regular garden sage. That's what I use. I don't actually like white sage. You know, it's okay. And it's okay to use things to stand in as representative, as symbolic, because what we're doing is highly symbolic. So let's see. Okay, so I just was looking at I have a hyacinth fragrance oil, which is a synthetic fragrance. I don't believe the hyacinth produces a essential oil. Not all plant material does. I don't, you know, unless you're growing your own hyacinth or you have a florist or garden nursery where you can go and get some hyacinth. Chances are if you need hyacinth in something, you can use that symbolically. I can use that synthetic as a symbolic substitute for hyacinth. I mean, you could even take a freaking picture of a hyacinth and use that as as a symbolic stand-in for hyacinth. You know, it's very common in crystal practices to use clear quartz can be used as a stand-in or a substitute for things you might not have on hand or might not be able to afford, you know. And I mean, I'm a crystal nerd, so I have all the crystals. And when I find out there's a crystal I don't have, I will go out and buy it. Anyways, but you can do those things. It doesn't make it any less effective. And if you think using clear quartz instead of, I don't know, white calcite is going to ruin your spell, yeah, it's going to ruin your spell. It really is. If you think that it doesn't have, you know, I mean, I've had so many things that people ask about or complain about sometimes. It's like, okay, you know, yes, there's certain things where, like someone's saying, so the color of hot foot powder should be either black or brown or something like that. Well, some of these things, like I know from now making hot foot powder, goofer dust, and doom powder, for the past 5 years, that the color of it varies greatly, because one of the common things in all three of those products is graveyard dirt. Soil, it is very differently has a very different composition depending where you get it from. Do you think graveyard dirt from Arizona is going to look the same as graveyard dirt from, say, Massachusetts? Different climate, different type of soil composition. I mean, that's gonna be a much more sandy. I had some crossroads dirt for a while from Arizona, and it was very sandy. Didn't look like dirt at all. It was very light brown, very different. Does that mean that that crossroads dirt is therefore ineffectual? No, just different. So sometimes, depending on a particular ingredient consistency, because graveyard dirt is like, it's something that, depending on where it's procured from, going to be, I mean, some of it I've had has been so dark it's been practically like tar black, and some has been really light, lightly colored, dirt. So that's going to change the color of the product. The other thing, especially in hot foot powder, that will change the color dramatically is the consistency of the cayenne pepper in it. I've had some cayenne pepper that was so like, sorry, I always point the wrong, red rose red, like that level of like brilliant orangey red. And depending on how it mixes in with some of those other things, it might be a little bit more of a red powder. Is it made incorrectly? No. But again, it's just different. It still works, just different. If you're that tied to tradition and it has to be exactly this way, make it yourself or hire someone to do something custom for you, because you're going to be woefully underwhelmed by things that you can buy, because you're so stuck in this has to have this, and this ingredient in order for it to work. It has to be charged on an altar for 40 days in order for it to work. It has to be this color, has to have this smell, it has to have this and this. That's all you. That is just humanity. It's not, I've never had any of my spirit workings and stuff like spirit being like, you used, patchouli instead of mullein. Well, I'm never working with you again, you heathen. So, no offense to my Norse brethren. It's not incorrect. It's just different. There's 100 different ways you can make any number of products, any number of tools and things that you have, and to work with what you have, what is accessible to you. And we all have different things that are accessible and aren't. It's, again, different, not inadequate or inferior or whatever. If you're judging things based on that, you really, you need to check yourself and really think about your practice, because you're hung up on petty details that you're going to end up tripping over your own feet as a result, because I've had stuff like that happen before. I speak from experience on these things. When I say like, hey, you know what? Generally speaking, this doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, sure, it's going to matter if you make it like the thing that matters. If you're like, oh my God, this money magic prosperity spell isn't going to work because this money incense doesn't have cinnamon in it and yellow dock root and alfalfa leaf, so therefore it's an inferior product and doesn't work because it has to have this, and this. You're stuck on the details. Let that go. You can make a money oil that's nothing more than some cinnamon from your freaking spice cabinet. Maybe throw some orange peel in there too. I don't know. But we're in an interesting period in time in witchcraft where, yes, in the olden days, you had familial traditions, or you had, your town wise woman or apothecary or alchemist or something like that. But, these products are now available by thousands and thousands and thousands of different creators. I've yet to really see anything and go, wow, you just really missed the boat on that. Now, I'm not speaking about mass marketed stuff because I have feelings on that. I feel like you're just buying something that you need to do magic on in order to do magic with. And it's not, you know, it's not to poo-poo it, because I buy my fair share of, you know, candles and stuff from Amazon or, you know, Botanicas or metaphysical stores. Corey, I know I ramble on a long time about this. And I guess what I want to talk about here is I'm starting to work on a series to really kind of get into the nuts and bolts of witchcraft products and the common things we see, the types of products, the correspondences for them, how they're made, where they came from. And it's okay to be like, okay, well, you know, there's numerous ways you can make doom powder, numerous things you can put in it. You know, generally speaking, when I've bought doom powder from others or made my own, same results. It's no less there's no less efficacy in it based solely on ingredients. It's what you do with it. It's maybe more what the person who made it, their energy they put into it. But, you know, I wanted to address one thing. I know I've probably talked about this in a video a long time ago, but the whole this has to be charged on an altar for 40 days thing. That's fine if you want to do that. You can buy any product your heart's desire and throw it on your altar. I do not have that much altar space because I have a product catalog that's about at least 350 products deep at this point. That's a lot of altar space, and the volume at which I have to make and sell things, I do not have the space for it. My stuff will be out of stock very often, and would also probably be a lot more expensive to account for that time. So do you want to pay $20 for hot foot powder or $50 for hot foot powder? Just saying. And it's perfectly fine if you buy something to go throw it on your altar for things if you think it needs that charging time. I have ways of doing things. I'm skilled at energy work. My entire space is a magical environment. So however long it's here, it's just absorbing, you know, magic. And I do a lot to kind of keep the energies separate, so that if, you know, my doom oil is you know, next to a love oil is, you know, are the two, no. So to kind of keep things, oh, now Moon's going in the box. Very exciting box night. I don't remember watching if Corey was still in the box. Well, we'll tell if the box turns into a cat fight. Anyways, so I'm gonna wrap up soon because it's getting late. But let's recap here. It's okay to make substitutions in your magic. It's okay to adapt your magic, spells, and rituals to your needs. I have a lot of health issues that I have to take into consideration. I've got the autism, ADHD stuff, so sometimes planning things is a challenge. I've got complex PTSD. That doesn't really interfere that much, but it's the chronic pain and mobility issues. Sometimes it's the time that it takes to do things. I really just don't have the time to do, you know, a 10-day long ritual. Or I would have to take off 10 days from work to do it, which seems to be counterproductive. So I have to do things in a way that works for me. Does that mean they don't work because I'm not doing it how it was done in some book, or how it's done according to tradition, or how my grandmother did it, or whoever? It's not wrong. It's just different. And that's the distinction we need to make, is that when it comes to these things, it's not wrong. It's just different. Now, I mean, if you went and, you know, took the the same correspondences you would for, say, a doom oil, and put it into a love spell oil, expecting to meet your soulmate. You might be sorely mistaken, disappointed, but the only things that can be technically wrong are the technical details. And I'm going to be I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking with a friend, and I think I'm going to work on an essential oils safety class for witches, because there's a lot of stuff I see and see stuff published in books, because unless you've been really educated in aromatherapy, more so than just the basics, there's nuance to things, and there's safety issues like cinnamon essential oil, clove essential oil, lemongrass. Those are so dermacaustic. Like, don't do this on an empty stomach, but you want to see some really grody stuff? Go look at Google search chemical burns from cinnamon essential oil, from bergamot essential oil. That will make you think twice about some stuff. There is a safe limit you can use of those essential oils. So now if I use something, lemongrass tends to be, a lot of them have, those ones particularly have a very strong aroma. But if the safe amount to use is, say, 10 drops of cinnamon essential oil, it's not going to have a strong cinnamon smell to it. Does it mean it's incorrect? No, it just means it's different. And also the person creating it was taking safety concerns into account. Like, and when it comes to substitutions and symbolic things, now I build out product lines for multiple purposes. So say I have a ritual oil. The stuff that goes into a ritual oil can be different than the stuff that's going to go into a bath salt. I am not going to put cinnamon essential oil, lemongrass essential oil, clove essential oil, peppermint into a bath salt. I'm going to use the fragrance oils for those, or the herb, or a combination thereof, if I want, it to have smell pepperminty or whatever. Because I mentioned this in the previous video, I don't want you to get injured using these products. And I'm taking the safety concerns into account, because people have allergies, and I've seen people, like, if you have a question or concern, just ask me. Like, I've had to remove a lot of the ingredients from my Etsy and Amazon listings, but they still are on the product label for the most part, with the exception of maybe fragrances. But when it comes to those things, what irritates me is when people won't answer those questions. And that, to me, is a dead giveaway. I'm like, no, I had an experience once. This was a few years ago, actually probably longer. It was in the before times. I was vending at an event, and I was going to buy something from this one vendor there. And like, it was kind of like a drinkable potion thing. And I asked him, like, well, what's in this? Like, what base is it? And she was just like, oh, I'm not telling you, kind of thing. And this like petulant child thing of, oh, it's a trade secret. Fuck you, bitch. I don't want to die from an allergic reaction. So fuck your trade secret bullshit. I was so livid about that. I'm like, if I get this home and find out it's apple cider vinegar, I'm going to be livid, because I fucking hate apple cider vinegar. But when people have questions like that, I would be willing to risk the trade secret getting out. Because you know what, I can tell you what's in any particular ritual oil. You can do your best to replicate it, but you don't know how many drops of what essential oils I used. You don't know what the amount of every single herb I used in there. So, it was just such bullshit from that woman. I was just so like, if I remembered the name of her business, I would just be like, I would have left her shitty reviews everywhere, honestly, because that to me is dangerous. If someone has a question, there's probably a reason for it. You know, there are things that, you know, interact with medications. There are things that interact with allergies. There are things that interact with medical conditions. And if someone has a question that's related to that, answer it. Or just be like, I'm sorry, our products aren't for you. You know? I'm still like, that was like 2019, and I'm still irritated about that because it was just so like, bish, I'm not going to steal your product things. I just want to know what's in it, because I want to know what's in what I put in my body for the most part. I mean, granted, I eat McDonald's food on occasion, but I kind of know what I'm getting into there. You know, there's a thing called informed consent. And that's what that comes down to with that person. I needed to know what was in that, and they refused. So, it was just, sorry. So as you can tell by a lot of the videos I've made, I've had a lot of experiences, over the years. And I try to learn from them. I try to do better. You know, if you need to know what's in something, I will tell you. I may not give away the exact formulation for you to go make it for yourself, but, you know, it's because, again, we're working from a lot of the same information, unless we're direct channeling things from the spirits or working from, you know, family grimoires going centuries back, and that's what we're going on. Most of us are working from the same kind of general, you know, table of correspondences, whether it's, you know, things that are elemental, things to specific deities for specific intentions. So I just make a lot of these videos because my hope is to foster understanding, so people know what questions to ask or what questions to not ask, and to be able to just have some discernment and nuance before you go and insult someone's years of practice and education by claiming their product is inferior because it doesn't have something in it or doesn't smell like, I don't know, whatever. But there's a way to kind of approach and ask questions. And I find that the thing that I've been incredibly frustrated with on like customer service side is people don't know how to ask questions right anymore. It's like sometimes people just will shout some words at you, and I'm like, okay. Honestly, sometimes I just ignore them. I try to answer things, but like sometimes I just do not have the emotional bandwidth, and it is not worth the emotional labor to discuss things with people who are just like, nope, it's got to be done that way. It's got to be done that way. It's got to have this, this, and this, or it's wrong. If you're hung up on those little details, I'm sorry, your magic is going to fail, and you are going to fail as a practitioner. You're getting hung up on the wrong things. I can do magic just sitting here, not using anything, because the most important part of magic is the mental aspect. It is the energy aspect of it. I don't need a candle to do that. I don't need a fancy ritual oil to do that. Can't take my ritual oils to be in the astral realm. You know, I mean, I can anoint myself beforehand, but beyond that, it's a little bit of picking and choosing your battles, but it's also having the missing link in modern society is the lack of nuance and discernment, and being able to be like, oh, okay, this person just makes things differently than, you know, where I bought this thing before. You know, I've had different, you know, types of products from other creators. And you know what? They're just different. They have a different energy to it. They might have different ingredients to it. Are they wrong? Are they inferior? Are they not going to work because of that? No. They won't work if you think they're not going to work, because we are our own worst enemies. So understanding nuance and discernment, I want each and every one of you who watches this video to take some time and meditate on those two things. Work with your higher self, work with your guides, work with your spirits, work with your ancestors, work with whatever makes sense to you, and try to apply nuance and discernment into as many situations in life as you can, because you will find that once you do that, it changes the whole ball game. Sometimes makes the whole ball game really annoying because you understand things on a much different level. I probably will do a specific video on nuance and discernment as part of the Spiritual Awakening series, but it is something that permeates through all aspects of our life and is very, very valuable to have. The skills and ability to apply that in every situation. I'm going to end on this note because I've been going for almost 40 minutes again. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, smash the notification bell, follow us on social media, sign up for e-newsletter. Algorithms suck, y'all. But I'm working on a ritual for that. And maybe I will share that with you soon. Bye.